Hattie and George came to Los Angeles, became for Hollywood great evangelists, then had three of the cutest little boys. Now we make a grand old showing of everything we think we're knowing, with every player making subtle noise. Now we will tell you, hoping to sell you 50 years of dreamland fairy tale. My goodness, listen to this family tale. There's none that's quite beyond the pale. So happy now in 2022.
It feels really weird to sit here looking at camera and be talking to myself 6 years into the future. Now, my idea is that this is like a family snapshot, and that we're going to freeze this moment in time. We're going to, in a way, be able to say some things that we wouldn't say to ourselves or even to each other right now, but maybe we can record these feelings and from time to time, take a measure of ourselves. So I'm not going to do that for myself right now. I'm just introducing the idea. First of all, Happy New Year to anybody watching this tape on January 1st, 1984. And I'm going to start with my parents. My folks want to do this together. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but they're going to have a conversation.
What were you saying? You're just saying you look back over it?
This is going to be like a time capsule that's going to open in 6 years. I'm 75, and in 6 years I'll be 81, and what can I say that is profound? I don't know. All I know is that when you're living 75 years through any amount of time, a person makes a lot of mistakes.
Yes,
And,
you do.
And I would like to say to the to the people who are watching this, especially if it's members of my family, if I'm around, check with me because on the things that you're going to do, because you're going to have to make mistakes that I made. Everybody makes mistakes, but you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made, because I can prevent you from making the mistakes that I've had to make. My experience would then prevent you from doing the same errors that I had. And that's a very important thing. And the thing that disturbs me a lot is when the children do something secretly, and then they come along and they say, well, here's what I did, and it's going to be fine.
Well, it isn't secretly. It's just that you don't know about it. There's a big difference.
What I'm saying, that they do it without letting us know in
I
advance.
mean, without consulting you.
Because it's an old cliche that
Yeah.
two heads are better than one. But wisdom comes with years, only by experience. I'm no wiser than I was, except that I've had the experience. And I know which direction to go to prevent mistakes, you see. Now,
I don't know. I think as I'm getting older, I'm getting dumber. I'm actually getting senile. I'm 70 now.
it's a good thing I don't always agree with Mother.
You never agree with me.
Well, at least on this thing I want. I think you're getting very bright. And some of the things that we do might interest the people 6 years from now.
What do we do?
Well, the walk around the dam. The Hollywood Dam. It's a beautiful
It really
place.
is lovely.
Very picturesque. And
We enjoy
as
it.
we're talking to you now, we are just getting over the most violent rainstorms that have been in Los Angeles in I don't know how many years. Maybe I think it's a record rainstorm that washed all the mud and the rocks onto the road around the dam where we walk. And it's
That's
very-
nothing compared to the people that have corpses in their backyard, because a graveyard got washed away and all the coffins came out, and what a mess that's gonna be to put back together.
Yeah, but as we walk around the dam in the beautiful sunshine of California and looking over the lake, which is absolutely beautiful, we are in a mood to discuss personal things, and so it seems as though we accumulate the things to talk about before we take a walk, and then Mother will take over and bring up the subjects, and as we walk around the dam, we discuss them at length.
Of course, the most interesting thing in our lives is our grandchildren.
How do you view each of them? Why don't you talk about each one? right
Yeah.
now?
And they're all so good. Let's see now. The oldest, of course, Meredith. That was, I can still remember being in the hospital when she was born. What am I crying about?
But this is supposed to
What
be
a
funny.
thrill! What a thrill that was. And she's just been a joy ever since she was born. Oh, I can't go on.
You're making me cry. This is ridiculous.
I didn't expect it to. I'll cry with each one.
No, we're not going to talk about each one because although each grandchild is a separate personality
Of
and
course.
distinctive in their own right,
Of course.
yet together they form a family that has brought much joy into
They
our
all,
lives.
yes, they're all so wonderful.
You know, and
so different.
recently, I must tell you this, that recently Malcolm, that's our youngest son, was in Europe, and he had an interview in the Viennese paper, which concluded with the words, "Remember the name Bilson." You'll be hearing a lot about it. Now, all of us are Bilsons.
Well, I think our three sons had made the name of Bilson something to
Correct.
be reckoned with.
Correct, that's right.
Every one of them.
That's what I was going to say. that
Each in his own field.
Yes, and the grandchildren are all Bilsons.
Of course, well, of course, they've all gotten
Let's play a
reputations
game.
that are wide. Okay,
Let's
what's the
figure
game?
out how old each grandchild will be 6 years from now, and you tell me what you think they'll be doing.
Oh, God. Now I'll really cry.
Meredith will be 28 years old.
28. Let's see. She'll have 2 children.
Yeah.
She'll be married, too.
Uh-huh. Thank
God. Now, Meredith really surprised me in that department because when she was in her teens, she kept falling in love so deeply, it seemed at the time, that I thought I'd be a great-grandmother by the time she was 19. And here she is 22 and not married yet. And because she loves her work, she's a very bright girl, and she's looking forward to a career in education or something, or writing. And but I predict that she'll be married then, and she'll have at least 2 children. I think she'll want to have about
Yes.
4 children like her mother
And she'll
did.
be teaching.
I don't know, but she'll
Yeah.
probably manage to do both.
Amy will also be married, and
She'll be, what, 25?
and
She's 19. No,
Yeah,
Amy is
she's
20 already.
Almost 21, so she'll be 20. She'll be 26 when she looks at
26,
this.
my
at
goodness.
26, Amy will she'll be married and have a child.
I don't think she's
Oh,
easy to predict on. She might want
well,
a career. I don't know.
It's my hope that
What do you think, Wes?
It's my hope that Amy will continue her athletic and outdoor activities because she has a great facility for that, athletics.
But her mind, she has a terrific mind.
Yes, but
Yes, she
of
does.
course
Very
everybody
bright.
has to think of what they're doing.
And a very forceful character.
Yeah.
And if she finds the place to use it, if she finds her the right field for all her get up and go, she'll get up and she'll go.
Yeah.
She'll get there too.
Now, what do you think? What do you think Jeffrey's going to be doing? I don't
Jeffrey
know.
will
Wait a
be
minute, we
24
skipped
years old.
Danny.
Oh, you
Well,
gonna do it now,
let's
or-
stay within the family.
Well,
Let's
I was
stay-
doing it within.
No.
Oh, all right. Let's just do Wesley's family
All right,
first.
Jeffrey.
Right, okay.
Jeffrey is very creative. He has a facility for writing, and it is my hope that he has developed that facility and is a professional writer. If not professional, then certainly as an avocation, because there are not many people his age now that have the ability to write the way he writes, and he has a sense of humor. And I hope his writing takes on the comedic.
Now, how old is he now?
He's 18, so he'll be
Is he only
24,
18?
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's younger than Julie?
Let's keep going.
Oh, I got mixed up
Let's
on that.
let's get to David.
Then I think the thing that you have to say about Jeffrey is he will be one of the kindest, sweetest men in the whole world, and that's something to hope for.
I mean,
Whoever he lives with, whoever will be his wife, or anyone connected with him will be happier because he's around.
up to now, he seems he seems to
I'm such a softie.
he seems to be the one
He's a darling,
that had the
darling
most
man.
concern.
Yeah,
He
loves
was always
people.
concerned for everybody, for all the other members of the family, including his mother and his father. He was the one that pitched in and wanted to help the most. So,
Why are you laughing? Because I'm crying?
Because I'm crying too.
now, David, I don't
David is another thing altogether.
Yeah.
Well, I think, well, you know, David is going to be something special. Whatever he'll do, it'll have to be very melodramatic. He will not settle for anything ordinary, right?
Yeah.
David is, there's something special about him. Sometimes it's especially terrible, but he's very special.
No, I think it,
And how old will he be in
He'll be
6
20.
years? Oh, gee, I hope
Almost.
to, I
He'll
hope
be
to live
19.
to see him grow up. He's really, in a way, the most interesting, because it's hard to just predict what
Ken's got a
David.
picture here, okay.
It's hard to. Oh, I forgot about the picture. It's hard to predict what David will really do. There's no question that he's got a lot of talent, brains.
But he has to
How
find
he'll apply them, something else.
he has to find an outlet for his
Yeah.
talents that interests him, and he'll go far. He'll be very successful. He's a great personality, a lot of charm, a lot of intelligence, and if he can put them all together and apply them to something that interests him, because he won't do
Yeah.
anything unless it interests him. He can't force himself to do
Well,
anything.
most people are only good at what interests them, so
Well,
there's
you
nothing
know.
wrong with that.
That's that. Now let's go to
Wesley, aren't you glad we're not talking about you?
let's get
That you'd really cry.
let's get
Now we
to
go
Bruce's kids.
Yeah. Then there's Danny, who is right now.
Well, I'll tell you, as we sit here, we are preparing to go to his college to see his first play that he has written in collaboration with somebody else. As far as I know, from my experience in evaluating writing, this is a highly professional job. What is it called, by the way? Let's get it on the record.
Oh, I don't remember.
The
Houdini something.
The Houdini
I forgot.
Deception.
Oh, yeah, I think that's right.
And we are all preparing to go and see it, and I'm looking forward to that thing with great anticipation. And I'm quite sure that Danny will be a writer.
He'll do something in show business.
Something
he may
in
not be
show
a
business,
writer. I
like
think
his
he,
father.
he might even be a director like.
Although
like
he wants to
Bruce
be an
did.
actor, I don't know.
No, I don't think he's.
I think he has
I don't
more.
think he's planning to be an actor anymore.
He has a more talent as a writer. And Julie,
Well, Julie has problems, but she seems to be solving them. And I'm hoping in 6 years, when she will be 25, that she will have reached her full potential. She's trying, I think, but she had an unfortunate childhood. And we're thankful that she's doing what she's doing now. She's got a job that's not very unimportant, but at least she's working and sort of settling down, I think.
did my feeling?
Now we still have Malcolm's children, don't forget.
It's my feeling that about Julie, that Julie has to find motivation. I don't think she has been motivated to the point where she can
Yeah.
utilize all the qualities that she has. She's a very beautiful
She needs
child.
something to arouse her interest, and then she'll find. If she ever finds a thing that she really wants to do, then she'll do very well. I really believe that.
That's right.
And now we come to our youngest son's children, Andrea and Monica. And Andrea is blossoming into a beautiful young lady. And she's getting, well, let's see now, she's, I think she's 13. She's a year younger than David. That would be 13.
Yeah. So
David's
she'll be-
not 15
So
yet.
she'll be
is he?
19 when she looks at this.
She'll be 90. Well, she should be absolutely stunning by then. Of course, The children are all, I must say, even being their grandmother, I must say they're all very good looking, every one of them, unusual types. And Andrea is, right now she's into a lot of things. She's sewing and she's knitting and she's excellent at school. She gets A pluses, and she.
Okay, Andrea, are you listening to this? I want to tell you something, Andrea. Shall I tell? Anyway,
Tell her whatever you want to.
Andrea, I think
She's over here.
Oh no,
No.
it's over there.
Oh, over there.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting there's a camera. It's a good thing I do.
Okay, Andrea, you have everything that a young lady should have. You have intelligence. You have musical ability. You have charm, personality, and so forth. And I tell you, as your grandpa, if you just widen your circle of friends, I think that you should. I'm sure by the time you see this, you'll be in college, and I suppose you'll have made many new friends. But I've always felt that that you should extend your circle of friends to include other more people than you now know.
Well, you don't even know how many people she knows.
No, because I was talking to your dad the other day, and I said I tried to get you, but your line was busy, and I'm sure that now that Andrea is a teenager, she's constantly on the phone, and she's talking to all sorts of people and long conversations, and your dad says, I wish she would.
No. The fact that she doesn't gab on the phone a lot doesn't mean she doesn't have friends.
Oh.
Because she works with her friends. She has a chamber music group. She has all these kids that they do things together.
Yeah.
They sew and they do and I have no doubt, any more than any of the other kids, that they're all going to turn out
No,
great.
but she has a sister who is completely
Let's see
the
now.
opposite.
Let's think.
Monica.
What she
Monica.
Monica is now 7. So in 6
She'll be
years she'll be
13.
13, and she'll be just as cute as she is now. She's a little devil, and she's a mischievous, darling child. She really is a very
She's
lovely child.
more outgoing.
She's always happy. This is what people enjoy about her. Perfect strangers. In fact, her mother always says, that when they're out in a group like taking ballet lessons, the other children's mothers come to fondle her because she's just fun. She's a lot of fun, and I hope by the time she's 13, I have a feeling she may be the one that has musical talent. I'm not sure, but I think she may have inherited Malcolm's talent.
Yeah.
Anda seems like very much more likely to inherit Elizabeth's kind of mind, a logical, scientific mind, and those two are not bad
And
either.
the people with those kind of minds, they're very selective, even about their associations, and about their daily routines. They're very selective what they do. They're well organized minds, and I think that'll apply also to her friends. I think she'll have many wonderful friends.
Well, let's see. Is that all? Only 8
Yeah, I
children?
tell you, this
Yeah.
has been so interesting
Yeah.
to me. I'd
Well,
like to go out and have you do this with Bruce and Malcolm and myself. Do the
Oh.
same thing. Say where you think we'll be.
All
and-
right.
and so
Okay.
forth.
No,
All right?
you stay in West.
Okay. Yeah, we can say it.
All right. You want us to evaluate what you're going to be like in.
Where you'll be in.
6 years
I know
from
what
now.
Is it still on? I know what I would like to see within 6 years. I'd like to see.
Everybody married.
Right.
Move over, you're getting out of the picture. Okay.
Absolutely. I want. And my greatest fear really is that either one of you should ever get old and lonely. I hope in 6 years you have. Oh, that you have someone loving to live with. Married.
How do you view the current state of marriage? What have you seen? You've been married 50 years. What have you seen?
Just a second. Blow. Blow.
I think that marriage has always been difficult. I think it's very hard for two people to live together.
Happily.
Just to live together is hard enough without trying to be happy. However, I don't see that with people getting divorced so much today, that they're really any happier afterward. I really don't see it. Of course, there are some people that should separate. I'm not going to mention names, but because some people are just impossible to live with. But if you have a woman who's normal and approaching normal, or a man too, men are just as difficult to live with. It's just not easy for a man and a woman to live together. However, there hasn't been found a better way. There is something about family life that's great. There's something nice about a man coming home and his wife has dinner for him and his children are there, and it's a very good thing. So until they find something better than that, I don't see that it's such a solution now.
The trouble with marriage is people.
Well, it's true. People are impossible. Most of us can't even live with ourselves, so how can we live with somebody else?
Yes. I think one of the major problems of the man and wife relationships is that everybody wants to win the argument. And it's the wise guy or the wise woman that can be selective and lose.
Why are you laughing?
And lose the small arguments.
He never tries to win an argument more than 20 times a day. He's very good that way.
If I would have to make an issue out of everything that annoys me.
Oh yeah, let's not get into that now.
But I think it's true. If you can learn to lose the unimportant argument, think that it won't make any difference if you win or you lose.
Listen, you keep talking and you'll deny everything I just said about living together.
That's right.
So you better stop now.
That's right.
But I don't know what else you want me to tell you about.
Well, let's talk about Bruce.
Well, Bruce is working too hard, in my opinion. I think he should get a little more fun out of life. But he's just gone through, is it a year or 2 years since he's separated? I don't know.
Longer, maybe.
Not more than 2 years, I don't think. He's had a rough time, especially with the way his family broke up and all the children left and everything. I was really horrified. He had a rough time before he got divorced, so I hope there's some happiness in store for him. I don't know, I don't think he has marriage on his mind. He never even got a real divorce, it's just a separation. But I certainly would like to see him have a little fun out of life, some real contentment. As far as his career goes, he's doing all right, so I don't worry about that. But I think he should take more time out to enjoy himself, at least rest. He works very hard.
Yeah.
When he's working.
Well, he's going to have his 50th.
Yeah, he's going to have his 50th
birthday pretty soon. And at this age and at this stage of life, it would seem to me that temporary associations, temporary relationships are not very wise. I think you have to look for a permanent relationship, somebody that really means something and is compatible.
Well, how do you have a permanent relationship until you have a temporary
That's
one?
correct. That's right. I think that these temporary things should be turned into, always with the idea of permanency, because when you get along and 8 years from now, 58 years old, you better start thinking of settling down and enjoying the rest
He's making an old man. He's only going to be 56 in 6 years.
56, okay, whatever. The thing is, the years click by, and before you know it, you're alone.
Do you have any special feeling about having a son 50 years old?
Well, I have no. I think...
well, let's face it, I'm 70 years old. Of course, no matter how old you get, you never feel it inside. People really don't age inside. You look in the mirror once in a while, you say, you're really there, you know, but inside, you still stay young. And numbers never bothered me about age anyway. I never think that way. But what I'd like to see is, Bruce and you get something out of life.
No,
Get maybe more out of life than you're getting.
all right. The only time I ever think about age is when people remind me of it, and that is on the tennis court. Look, I'm now dressed in the tennis outfit. Leave it, that's how leave it. See, this is my jogging outfit, and I play a fairly decent game of paddle tennis. And when I beat all these people that are half my age, they say, "How old are you?" And then they remind me that I'm 75. But I like to keep active. I like to skip rope. And I like to jog and walk and play paddle tennis. And then you're not old.
And he's modest.
And I'm very modest about it.
How about Wesley?
Well, Wesley's something else again. Wesley was an awfully cute kid, I must say. I'm going way back. And of course he surprised all of us by becoming a businessman. And but he could have been anything he wanted to be, I think. Wesley has a
drive.
Well, he has a genius for success, I think. He had some bad breaks, but he built up this tremendous business out of nothing. He had no training you didn't have any training for business. He absolutely amazed me. Even the first thing he tried to do without any knowledge of building, he built that apartment house, now living in it and enjoying it. So he does a lot of things right. Some things he does wrong. And I'm not going to mention them here, but I'll let him know.
We only have 4 hours of time.
Yeah, I know. But I think Wesley really tries. I think his big problem was that he got married too young. We tried to talk him out of it. And, although we thought Bobby was a wonderful girl, but
You still think she's a wonderful girl.
yeah, but getting married that young and having children so soon, and it was just too much of a burden. And it didn't get the right kind of a start in his career, really. But he made it anyway.
Well,
but I think that probably wrecked his marriage.
I have always felt that Wesley, in his business association, looks for angles, looks for the angle instead of looking direct on and a pure, straightforward analysis of what he's getting into in the business association. There's always that the digression around the corner. And I, for one, like a very forthright approach to any business problem or any family problem. You have to face it and say this is it, and avoid the
For this, he has to waste film.
well,
on you.
you know, I'm telling, he asked me what I think, and I'm telling him that I think the strong, firm approach, and the statement of fact, and the study of the fact is better than looking for angles, and say, well, if I go over to the right a little bit, I think I'll get there a little bit quicker, and it'll be easier road, and okay, so this I'm breaking the driving rules. I shouldn't go around. This is what I think. And as far as Malcolm is concerned, Malcolm has found himself musically, and it's very rare
Yeah, he was just lucky.
when a person can make his avocation his vocation. Because there's not many of us who get up in the morning and go to work and think it's a pleasurable experience. Going to work is usually a drudge on most people, but when Malcolm gets up, he would do that if he didn't get paid what he's doing.
Of course, he's a great businessman.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about going around looking for an angle with Wesley, reminds me when he did his doctorate. You know, they had an oral examination, and of course the people that were questioning him knew that he knew more about the subject than they did. But they were very amazed when he gave answers. They said he never really talked directly. He was talking all around the subject, never got to the point. So, but I don't think that Wesley really does that. I don't think. Well, anyway, we all have our own opinions.
Yeah.
But I do think
I'm talking-
the hardest thing for Wesley, which we didn't understand at the time because we didn't know so much about psychiatry, but the hardest thing was being the kid in the middle. It was very rough because you had a brother, the older brother. He was always busy at school. He'd get into the plays and he'd sort of get around and do what he wanted pretty well. And then he had the misfortune to have a younger brother who was born with a talent and even got to be taller, which is really a terrible thing to happen to the middle kid. I think don't you think that it makes you aggressive, or it defeats you completely. I think Wesley's on the aggressive side, because otherwise he would be a nothing.
Yeah, now
It's very
Malcolm always looks for an angle too. He looks at how he can come out at the wrong end of the deal. He wants to lose money on everything.
He doesn't want to. He just doesn't think of making it. That's all.
No, he wants to. It doesn't. He wouldn't.
He doesn't want to make any money. He says so.
That's right. Fortunately, he has
He has a wife that works.
Who's very considerate and very intelligent.
And she also keeps the books.
And keeps the books and knows how to handle a sensitive guy like Malcolm.
Well, he's
Believe
lucky.
me,
He got a very good
we
wife.
should
Yeah.
give much of the credit for Malcolm's happiness and the
Yes.
joy that you feel when you walk into that house.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth is the one that
Elizabeth.
really sets that
No question about
household.
that.
God bless her.
No question about that. And finally, to close up, we want to say that.
Wait a minute. I want you to talk about Hattie and George.
Oh, pew.
It's very simple.
Very simple.
To get it down to the essentials, there is no people who have lived together for 50 years that haven't had their ups and downs financially, emotionally, and so forth. And it's a funny thing that I believe that adversity brings people closer together. I think that if we would have not had the economics of life to worry about, I think that we might have concentrated on other things and might have not come off the way we did, because it's very easy to get to make a major argument that would result in a split if you concentrate on it, if you let it worry you.
I would say that the only reason we really stayed together was so we could have such a lovely 50th anniversary. I've always wanted a golden wedding, so that's why we stuck.
That's a damn good reason.
Because even if you
I was
get
going to talk about that next.
if you get divorced and marry somebody else, you can't have a golden anniversary.
I'll tell you something. When I was 60 years old when I started in a completely new business, the catering business, about which I knew nothing, and with the help of this lovely lady here, we managed to make it a success. We took a terrible, broken down old business and we turned it into the biggest kosher catering establishment on the West Coast. And in 8 years, we had enough money to chuck it all and retire. And we did it together. And I say that's the economic.
Now we can afford to walk around a dam.
Now we can afford. Right now we're going to visit Malcolm in the middle of May. That's going to cost a few bucks. We're going to come back, and when we get in October, we're going on a big cruise to the Mediterranean. Goes all the way to Athens, Greece, and Egypt, and
Israel.
Jerusalem,
Yeah.
and Haifa, and we're gonna really travel. And it doesn't bother us one bit to be able to peel a couple off the top and say we're going to enjoy life because that's what money is for.
Well,
And
speaking of enjoying life, the most exciting thing I think in our whole married life was that party that the boys gave us and that car. And it was just such an evening. And that wonderful cruise we all took together where we got to know each other better. And that was really the highlight of my life. And we were so fortunate that Dad didn't get sick with the shingles before that trip, because everything would have been ruined. So we had, I think that was something we'll all remember.
Yeah.
You and I.
What?
You and I with the teeth.
Blow.
It's enough to cry now. Think of 6 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. No, that was really something, and it proved 2 points. Number one, the family should stick together. For heaven's sake, you're born into a family. You owe an allegiance to each other. You're supposed to look out for each other and help each other, and that's what it's supposed to be all about. And second, it proved that don't hold on to more money than you need, because if break your back to keep making money and piling it away, all you're doing is changing a number in a bank book.
Are you telling them they shouldn't have given us the party?
That's all it is. If I see people who have more money than the levy use, they're breaking their back to make more. And what's the answer? It just makes a bigger number on your estate. It rubs out one number and makes it bigger. But so what good is it? Money is made to enjoy within reason. You have to protect yourself and make sure you have enough financial backing. Beyond that, everything is nothing. So that's my advice to you kids.
Nobody asked you for
Enjoy
advice.
it. Enjoy it.
Where do you get the idea they want advice?
I always give advice without asking.
I know. Well, isn't this enough for you, Wes? What else? I think we've covered everything.
That's terrific. I think we ought to have some ending to it.
You want to have an ending, okay. I thought what I just said about the attitude towards each other is very important. I would say that.
Well, let's say we hope that in 6 years the family will be closer than ever.
And bigger.
And bigger. I expect the girls to produce, and the boys too.
Yeah.
Let's see. How many of them will be of marriageable age by then? Most of them.
Yeah.
Right, Drew? I would like.
You
Drew?
say hello? Say hello.
You don't know this, Drew, but you're on television.
Don't share.
What?
Where's the door?
Why is the door open? So you can't see the television, that's why. And I would hope that the next time we see this tape, we'll be living in that very house. And Drew will be a little taller. And Rennie will be just as pretty, and I won't be any older. That would really be good.
God, that's called freeze frame.
Yes. A very interesting time in my life that I would hope to remember well, because I'm sort of getting out of episodic television and into bigger and better things. My first movie, The North Avenue Irregulars, came out a week ago, and we're all walking around with crossed fingers hoping it does the business that Disney expects. It has certainly gotten good reviews in magazines like McCall's, Newsweek, Playboy, and People magazine. Just compared it to Walking Tall and the Phoenix City Story, and I had a telephone interview with an editor in Florida based on that, which I will have a clipping of next week, which I'm looking forward to seeing what he wrote, because interviews are not what I do a lot of. So I'm hoping that my television career will subside and my movie career will begin. I have done 3 movies of the week this year, and 2 of them, the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders and the pilot for BJ and the Bear, turned out to be the 1st and 3rd highest rated movies of the week of the television season. So that's kind of a nice feeling, and I feel like I have a little role going now. I'm doing some episodic television right now. I'm working on the first episode of a new series based on the Bad News Bears movies, which I find it harder and harder to work in episodic television because people don't seem to care as much as I do about doing decent product and doing it professionally. I think I'm very lucky, and have been for the last year, to have Rennie, who you just met. And I hope that that's something that's going to last till I'm a very old person.
What about the kids?
The kids are doing great. Danny is trying to write, and he graduated school in June. He sold 1 story to BJ and the Bear. He got cut off before screenplay, but if they get picked up, he may get to go to screenplay. He's working with his partner, Paul DeMeo, and living in a little house down in the Wilshire district. He is going with a lady who has a baby, named Jan is the lady, and the baby is John, and she's going through a rather difficult divorce and a custody fight for the baby, who Danny loves dearly. And so he's personally having some hard times. He's taken on a giant load of responsibility for just having graduated college. But I think he's going to come through it all right. They're writing and they're pitching and they're trying, and I think they'll sell something else. And he's going through that stage of paying dues that you have to go through. Julia's back in school, and we're waiting to see the first semester's grades. And she's living with a young man named Crave Cabbage, who they seem very happy together, and he's been a very good influence on her. She's lost a lot of weight. She's going to the gym, getting in shape. She works. She goes to school. And has come through some bad times in pretty good shape. I think she's doing great right now.
Where do you, when
She's doing so well, I'm having her over for dinner tonight.
I asked the folks to talk about you. You want to talk about them?
Hey, they are doing so great, you know. I think, you know, the shape they are in, emotionally, physically, and financially at their ages is just marvelous. And I think you and I can look into each other's eyes and knock wood again that we don't have to support them, which would be not as tough on us as embarrassing for them. And I'm just very proud of them. You know, what they did with that catering business to get them to where they are today, where they're comfortable, they don't have to depend on anybody, and they've got their health. I'm just, you know, who could ask for more? I mean,
What is
we could ask for more, but we won't.
Well, we're not going to.
We're not going to get into that.
How have your, I could say my perceptions and relationship has changed over the years with him. How about you?
Oh, I think it's amazing how they have adjusted to us and to where our lives have gone and to where our children, you know, our daughters are living with guys and our sons are living with ladies, and so are we.
So are we.
And I know it was very funny. Mom was talking to me the other day and said, "Is there ever going to be anybody Jewish left in the family?" And when we think back to what Malcolm and Elizabeth went through with their engagement and marriage, and to how the folks accept Rennie and Sandy, I think you have to give them a lot of credit for that.
They've moved with the world.
Yeah. And I admire them for that. And it has certainly made all of our lives easier, and our children's lives easier.
Well, Malcolm was on the tape and spoke about his life, and you spoke a little about yours. I'm going to talk about mine. I'm always interested in how successful we all are in our fields. And I don't feel the folks really pushed us anywhere. How do you feel about it?
Well, the push is our Father. I mean, whether he pushed us or we just saw him push himself, I think we're all have a tendency to overwork, to not know how to relax, to keep driving and doing and running and going. It's the curse of the Bilsons. And it may not be a complete curse, that's all. I mean, what we were just talking about at lunch about when do you take some time off?
Yeah, I have a work ethic, but I don't think I'm pushing like that. It's what I'm really talking about is that I don't remember ever being told you got to be successful, you got to make it, you got to do. You
Hell no! All he said was marry a rich Jewish girl, right? Which none of us did. Well, you did, but that's not why. You know.
I somehow feel that there's some values that we all picked up that are interesting. I don't know how that all worked. It certainly
I don't know how it all
laid out. I don't.
No, but it was certainly in front of us. I mean, Dad worked all the time. He was always doing something, and he still does. And he doesn't even have a job. I talked to him last night. He's busy doing publicity for some affair for the temple, you know. And I think he had a great need for recognition, which perhaps we all have part of that need.
That's for sure.
You know, and we're all achieving it in our own fields. I am looking forward to the next years. I'm looking forward to life with Rennie. I'm looking forward to trying to get myself organized enough to enjoy the things that I've earned. And I'm looking forward to doing bigger and better things that hopefully have some humanity in them and something to say and some entertainment value. And
Okay, so give us the date. This is April 20th, 2018.
2018, right.
About almost 40 years since you guys sat down before.
Right? We look exactly the same, you might notice.
Yeah, right.
I didn't notice that. So we just looked at what you recorded in 2019. What was your reaction to seeing
In 2019, you mean in...
that? Excuse me, 1979.
78, right?
1979, February 79.
Oh, okay.
So what was your reaction to that?
It was really interesting. I didn't remember looking quite like that with such a black beard. My voice sounded different. And I looked exactly the same as I do now. It was quite amazing that it's held up so well.
It's true, actually. I think.
You think so?
I do think a lot, except for your beard.
Yes. And my growing forehead. So anyhow, you've picked a day that's within the month that would, within the next 30 days, I will be 90 years old.
Right.
So it's weird.
So there was a comment though at the beginning that's like that. You hope you'll be with me until you're really old. So
Yes.
I guess
So,
I guess that worked out.
And that could happen
yes.
in the future.
It's really worked out well. We've had such a good, healthy, loving, lucky, good life together. What is it, 37 years?
37 years, yeah. We got married.
Yeah.
So I was really new to the family when we did the other video.
Right.
So I hadn't been on the cruise. It was, so I was just really, really new to the whole family.
And
so
not yet married. In the
no,
family,
no. So
That took a while.
a lot longer than I wanted it to, actually. I was so scared that it was going to change everything if we got married. It was going to make it bad instead of better. Right.
Right.
But anyway, it's been great. And Drew's, almost 42 years old now. So.
Yeah. You want to tell us briefly about what his life has been?
Yeah, sure. I was just thinking that he was 2 years and 4 months old. So now he actually has a 2-year-old daughter. She just turned 2 weeks ago. So he's in the game business. He works for Electronic Arts. He's in the marketing.
Yes.
He's always been, for a long time, he did a lot of the videos when they were
Editing.
developing games and editing, a lot of editing. But now he's in the marketing side of it. And so he's married. His wife's name is Liz, and their daughter's name is Bowie.
Danny is now about to be a fully tenured professor at USC teaching video games, production and creation and writing, as well as television writing and directing. So he has found a spot there and is doing very, very well.
I think you've come to a really good place about how your career evolved and turned out.
Yes, I turned out to be an episodic guy. I did over 400 episodes. Interestingly enough, the last couple of years, I was being hired by Danny and Paul and their company with the lovely name of Pet Fly Productions. And that was really kind of wonderful. Danny said, "We're doing a show in Canada." He says, "Here it is, take how many you want." I took too many.
He did.
I did. I was away too much. So the next year I took fewer. And at the end of that year, we finished right at the end of 1999. And that was sort of the end of my career. I came home, and the people who used to hire me just in those 2 years, many of them had retired, and many of them had died. And I had an agent who sent me out for a pilot. I came back, I read the script, and I said, "This is really a piece of shit." And Ren said, "Then don't do it." I said, "There's an idea." And I retired. And in my retirement, through the TV Academy, I made some documentaries about filmmaking, which I think are pretty good, called Journeys Below the Line, that were designed to show people not how to, but what the jobs are in our business. And I'm very proud of those. Anyhow, as far as the sailing was concerned, the guy who was going to be my assistant said, "I'm taking sailing lessons down in Newport Beach." I said, "I'll take them with you." I took 4 2-hour lessons, and that was the beginning. I fell in love with sailing. I fell in love with racing. I ended up owning about, I think, 6 different boats, and I just sold our final boat a year and a half ago.
And luckily, I liked sailing.
Yes,
Yes,
luckily.
I was going to get to it.
Rennie became a better driver than I was, and a really good sailor and understood it all. And that's about it. We had a lot of success. At the wrap party, I took all these trophies and I put them on the dining room table. And I called the guys in one at a time, starting with the seniority. And I said, "Take what you want." And
Yay, you got rid of them.
there was still a lot left over, and there's still a lot around. We had a lot of success and a lot of fun.
That's great. So you want to talk about the kids? Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I have to talk about Rennie. Because, or you can talk about it. When I was away on location and working so many hours, Rennie found a calling, if you will, in CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates for Children. And I think she should talk a little about that, because so far she hasn't made much of an impression.
Well, that's okay.
on your TV about us, and she's a big part of.
I was going to get to that, but now's a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. It was really started when, interesting, on a New Year's Eve, we were sitting around. Drew was about 7 years old, and Bruce, and just the 3 of us. And he said, "So let's think of all the good things that have happened to us this year," which is a really wonderful thing to say. And Drew said his little whatever, and Bruce talked about his, and came to me, and I realized my acting career was going nowhere, and I realized that everything was important to me, but it was about somebody else. And so I thought, I really need something that's mine. And I had learned about this program, as Bruce said, called CASA. And we're advocates for children who are victims of child abuse and under the jurisdiction of the court. And I thought about it. Somebody had invited me to be on the board of directors, but their meetings were at 7:30 in the morning, and he traveled all the time. And but from that, I decided to take the training, and it definitely has been my calling. I think it was really what I was meant to do. It's challenging, it's hard, it's rewarding. I think the most important thing about it is it's a volunteer assignment. That's not really the right word, but where you have the opportunity to have input into the decisions that are being made about these children. And that's a pretty empowering position to be in as a volunteer. And I've had wonderful times where I've had the opportunity to change kids' lives 180 degrees.
Here I am 43 years later, and I thought it was a good idea to update what we recorded 43 years ago and see where people are and how they look today. As for myself, I've been married 4 times. First time to Barbara Tratner, my high school sweetheart. We had 4 children, Meredith, Amy, Jeffrey, and David, who are all on this tape. We got divorced about 15 years later as we grew separate and apart. Some years later, I married Sandra Castaldo. We were married for about 15 years as well, and we had 2 children, Greg and Jessica. After we got divorced, later I married Judith Wolfe, a wonderful Canadian person, and unfortunately she died at the age of 59 and left me a widower. I went online and was lucky enough to meet Christine Powell. We became married a couple of years later. She has 6 children. I have 6 children. We have together about 25 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. I've had a very interesting business career, which is documented in a separate video called Wes Bilson Entrepreneur. I've been very interested in philanthropy my whole life and quite involved in the Jewish religion.
I have been, in the last 10 years or so, I have gotten, I guess, what you would call ambitious in a way that I certainly never was before and didn't think that I could get. And as a result of that, it has to do with this fortepiano business. I think that it's a very important step, you know, and I think that I'm one of the first ones who's taking it, and I think that it's going to be. I don't think it's going to replace what Rudolf Serkin and Isaac Stern are doing, you know, but I think that it is going to expand the. It's going to expand musical life, and I think that I'm one of the forerunners. And in addition, I think it's very exciting. You know, I mean, it's like an age of discovery, and I think it's very exciting. But as a result of that, I've become very ambitious about what I'm doing. Unfortunately, I don't have as much facility as I should, especially with these light instruments. I've had a considerable amount of difficulty with my hand, which is probably some inborn difficulty. You know. And so as a result, I have to work more than I do, but I work very, very hard, and I work sort of all the time, and I feel that I feel it has to be good, and I feel I have to work a lot for it, so I do, you know.
Oh, what kind of difficulty in your hand?
But my 3rd finger doesn't move right.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be there is something in the tendon structure that isn't right, you know.
And does it hurt or what?
It doesn't move properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, when I want to play a scale or something, I have to make sure that that 3rd finger gets going, or it just doesn't, and it's very hard to do. You know? Whereas this hand or anybody else's hand, it just moves easily. You know? Once anybody can do this, you know, it's not something that's reserved for pianists. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. At the moment, I think that I've got to a point where things seem to be burgeoning very rapidly, and there are more important things that are going to happen, and I'm making these recordings now, and I'm going to go to Budapest, which will certainly be a very important thing. I'm going to play and teach in Budapest. You know. I am, as far as I know, the first foreign visitor in years who has been invited to teach there. I was told by several of the musicians there that although Vienna is about as far away from Budapest as San Diego is from where we're sitting, they have virtually no contact with those people. You know. And that and this is not only for political reasons, it's for, I guess, for a number of reasons, that they just have been sort of cut off. And that they have on occasion had a Russian come to teach in Budapest, but to have an American come and teach music in the Budapest Academy is very, very unusual.
And when will
and
it be?
That'll be in March of 1979.
For how long?
For 2 weeks. And I'm going to teach, I've been teaching this very small scale fortepiano seminar in Wellesley, and now I've been invited to do this at the University of Michigan, which is a huge place, and which will be really, I think, of some sort of national importance. And next year I'm going to play probably even twice in New York, once at the Frick Collection and probably in the YMHA. But the fact of the matter is that I'm having, I don't know if it's called this midlife crisis or whatever it is, but I would like to get ordered a little bit better so that I occasionally have time to go to the bathroom in a relaxed way, much less read a book. You know, I mean, it really is a little bit crazy. And I can virtually do whatever I want. I'm encouraged to go out and play concerts because that's part of the Cornell thing. At the University of Illinois, you were discouraged from doing that. You know, it was more, you had to stay there and teach. And Cornell is the kind of university that says our professors have to be first-rate teachers and first-rate scholars or scientists or whatever it is, and they have to be in the forefront of what's going on, so they encourage me to do these things. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they won't buy me a Schubert piano someplace.
Have a kind of a different or special relationship with the folks you and Elizabeth do, developed over the years. Let's talk about them for a little bit.
Are they going to see this in 6 years?
I hope. They made their tape, but maybe they won't. Who knows?
Well, first of all, we live far away, you know, and when we get together, we have intense get-togethers for a certain amount of time, and whether that's a better way to see them or a less good way to see them, it is certainly a different way to see them. And the other thing is that our family has the only daughter-in-law who's left, and they like her a lot, and she likes them genuinely. You know, she's very attached to them. And so I don't know, it just works out all right.
So we've just looked at the tape from 1978. You said quite a bit of things about the life you expected to lead and were leading. What has happened since then?
Well, it's pretty interesting that nothing new. In some sense, the trajectory that I sort of foresaw then is absolutely the trajectory that occurred. Of course, many things happened on what you might call a smaller level. In 1978, I was talking about the fact that I thought I was a pioneer, and that I said something which I think is really true, is that I suddenly got ambitious. I was never ambitious. I always thought it was absolute. As a kid, I thought playing the piano is absolutely terrific. You know, I'm not going to go out and become the next Rubinstein or Horowitz, but hopefully I will get a good teaching job and have a good class, and I thought that was a really wonderful life. Now, I'm here today because I just taught down at the Coburn School, and I see all these absolutely wonderful young people, and I wonder what they think is going to happen to them. I mean, you know, how many violinists and pianists does the world need? You know, and what are these kids all going to do? And I think that the fact that I was not very ambitious in the sense of some worldwide career or anything like that, I think that really was very good for me, you know, because I never, if we had just stayed at the University of Illinois our whole lives and I'd been a professor, I would have been perfectly happy. And so many people in this situation are just totally frustrated. When we arrived at Cornell, there was this very good violinist there who had been trained to be the next Heifetz, and he wasn't the next Heifetz, and he was stuck at Cornell playing chamber music with the likes of me, and he was totally frustrated. And I think I wouldn't have been frustrated. Having said that, what happened after 1978 is something that I never would have even dreamed of. Warner bought Nonesuch and brought it out here from New York, and the first thing they did was ask me to make records. And those records that I made, those Nonesuch records, in around 1980 or so, this must be 80, 81, I then recorded all the Mozart violin sonatas with Sergio Luca, and the conductor, the young budding conductor, John Elliott Gardner, heard some of these recordings and invited me to play with him, first in Vancouver, then in southern France. And Lynn Glaser managed to get Deutsche Grammophon and get a contract for us to record all these. You know?
All what?
All the Mozart concertos, 23 concertos. And that, of course, was the great adventure of my life. Now, that's 35 years ago that we finished.
And how long did it take to record them?
6 years.
And
2 and
how did
4
you
every
go
year.
about it? How did you go about it?
I went to London and we did it. You know, that is, of course, considered by many, and probably is my main contribution, is these Mozart concertos. Some other people have recorded them. My friend Bob Levin, who you know, who is a fantastic genius and a terrific Mozart player, he started recording them later with Christopher Hogwood, and by the time he was recording them, this CD bubble had sort of burst, and halfway through they just canceled the whole thing.
So when you're
I think, one should talk a little bit about that, because I haven't made any recordings in 15 years. Well, why should I? You know, one of the last recordings I made was a 4-hand Schubert recording with Bob Levin for Deutsche Grammophon. These are 2 Americans, Bob Levin and Malcolm Bilson. 2 Americans. This disc was never for sale here, and after a year and a half, to very good reviews, it got withdrawn.
So
and that's how it is now.
Was Bob Levin recording on that?
Of course.
Yeah. So explain the piano. Explain the piano.
Well, it's a Mozart era piano, and all the instruments, other instruments, are also Mozart era instruments. By the way, these Mozart concertos, now they have put out, I don't know who buys things like this, a 200 CD set of Mozart for $400. So it's $2 a disc. And I've got quite a few concertos in there, and I just got a 6 months royalty for almost 500 euros. Which is, so obviously they're selling a lot of those, because I'm sure I get 2 cents a piece or something. You know?
That's great.
Anyway, the other thing that I'm trying also to go back to talk about what's on that earlier.
Please.
Thing. I talked about the fact that I had no graduate students. You know? And that perhaps we would put in a program, and our trio, Sonia Monosoff, John Shu, and I, were teaching master classes all over the place, but why not at Cornell? So we managed to bring in a doctorate. And I have had fantastic students. And these students, one of them said to me on the telephone the other day, he said, you know, that, and it's very moving to think about it, that the influence of these students and former students and now colleagues is just all over the world. And your former wife, Bobby, with whom I had dinner last night, was just at a concert, Mozart concert with Duhamel, and she said, of course, you know, when they do Mozart, they reduce the orchestra, they don't vibrate so much. So all these things that we were doing, not just early pianos and so, they really have had a big influence, and that makes me happy. And I now look in the piano magazines, and I see there are people recording on early pianos who I'd never heard of. That didn't used to exist. I used to know everybody all over the place. So that's how it's been.
I've been asked to talk about my life in a large sense as well as in the sense of the details, and I'll try and integrate the two. I really believe that all the small steps are part of a larger pattern of living, and this point in my life is a real crossroads. So it's interesting to try and decipher the different moves I'm making and what they mean in the larger sense of my life. To be more specific, I feel I've made a commitment to go back to school, get a degree in English, and teach. I spent some time looking into other possibilities, most notably looking at running a bookstore, looking at speech therapy, looking at the movie business. And each time I felt that I wasn't exactly fitting into a niche that I was forcing myself into a shape that wasn't me. And all it took was 5 minutes on a campus for me to realize that in my heart I really wanted to be in school and be in academia. So I'm going to the University of Virginia to hopefully to get a PhD in English. What this means in the larger pattern of my life is not only a career choice to teach, but also the solidification of a career as my main priority at this moment. I'm giving up a beautiful relationship in order to do this, which makes me really sad and hurts a lot. But I also hope that the relationship is strong enough to sustain some changes right now, and maybe we can revive it to its present intensity in the future. This is, I think, the biggest dichotomy that I feel within me, and have for several years, is the pull towards a career and towards real achievement, and the pull towards fulfillment as a woman and the enjoyment of a relationship and really merging my life with somebody else's. This has been, I'd say, a consistent problem, and every time I try and resolve it by going completely headlong into a relationship or completely into my work, I'm not happy. So I'm still looking for a situation in which I can really combine the two thrusts of my life. I'm greatly indebted to Mom, who I feel has always combined within her a real achievement-oriented woman with a very graceful and generous woman to, just to people and relationships. And I would always admit that she's my major role model in that way. So another part of my life is searching for how I can help people, help in a bigger social way. And one of my real enjoyments this year has been a senior citizens humanities discussion group. I lead it per se. What we do is we read articles or passages from books and talk about them. And mostly I try and motivate senior citizens to look at their past as important to me and young people in the future, see themselves as part of a continuum. I strongly believe this. I believe in tradition and in change and in a very special balance between the two. So working with senior citizens has given me a real concrete sense of this theory that I've always held. So I've always believed in tradition. I've always believed it's important to me to, say, carry on things in the family, wear Grandma Seal's wedding band, stuff like that. And this is another way that I've been able to inspire people who might feel the same as I do to really express themselves. And it's been a great joy to me to work with senior citizens. I really love it, and I feel that I've learned an awful lot, and that I've given them, too, a sense of purpose and a sense that their lives are important to me and will help the structure of my life. The program is one that I learned about from Aunt Joyce and hope to continue in Virginia. And more than just these general things, I feel now very close to 2 or 3 of the members of my group. And so it's just the personal satisfaction of seeing somebody be happy when you come in and want to share things. Like we shared Seder. 2 of my senior citizens came to the Seder that I had with Marty, and it just gave it a very special feeling to see people between the ages of 80 all the way to my age, which at present is 23. So that's been fun. What I'm really hoping to do in the next few years is to strike a balance between those 3 major parts of my life. Be helpful to people in a larger sense, be immediately responsive to relationships that I have and really fulfill my own needs.
And watching myself at 23, the first thing I want to say is, get a sense of humor. I was so serious and self-conscious, which I guess is maybe a definition of a 23-year-old me. But I've had such an amazingly wonderful life, and it just felt like I was, not at ease in that early version of myself. So Dad asked me to give an update. So I would say I have had a fabulous life. I did go on and become an English teacher. I taught high school English for 36 straight years. Just retired from the classroom this past year, and am now volunteering and doing some paid support for teachers and mentoring of newer teachers. I loved my career. I was so happy with what I was doing. I have 3 children, Josh, Aaron, and Alice, and 4 grandchildren with a 5th on the way. So my family has just, been a huge blessing to me. I'm incredibly fortunate to have my 2 parents alive and in good health for many more years, I hope. And it's always a big pleasure to be at family occasions with both Mom and Dad and those sides of the family. And I've run a book club for 35 years. That's a lot of fun, and those are the things that immediately come to mind as an update. What else, Dad?
I think that's good.
Okay, well, I'm back thinking more about the update of my life. And I was talking before about what a good life I've had, and I want to say that a huge part of that has been my marriage to Ken. I think that whenever you find your beshert, the person you're meant for, it just enlarges your life in such gorgeous ways. And so I've been really lucky to raise my children with Ken and enjoy our grandchildren and enjoy traveling. We're both Francophiles, we're both wine lovers, and we just, share so much both in what we like to do and our approach to life. So that's been a huge measure of my happiness, has been that relationship.
Got a wife and children, one in Cherokee. First one says she got my child, but it don't look like me. Said I'm running, but it take my time. A friend of the devil's a friend of mine. If I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight. I want to do another song.
No, not rolling. Tell me what you like. What's happening?
Well, it's upward spirals and scuba dives at the same time because it's very exciting and new, and I'm thrust in new situations where I see new parts of myself emerge. But it's also a lot of pressure, and a lot of clarity is needed from me all the time in what I do, which is a nice challenge, but it's not always easy to meet. But they never said it was going to be easy. That's okay with me.
What is it that you're doing now?
I am studying neuroscience up at Washington State in Seattle at the University of Washington, getting, I hope, a joint degree in physiology and psychology. I have my doubts about this degree, but I think the knowledge is compelling, and if I choose carefully what skills I acquire while I'm getting this degree, I think I will be set up to do several different things, any of which would be very exciting for me to do. I think it will be a good thing, but much of it is up to me and how I deal with the opportunities that arise.
Go ahead.
So when I went to grad school in Seattle, that was beautiful. And then I ended up in Silicon Valley, finished my PhD. I ended up in Silicon Valley, got a job at Sun Microsystems, an early internet company. Never looked back. And since then, I've been living largely in Silicon Valley. I met my wonderful husband at a Silicon Valley industry party. And we've been together 24 years. And I have a couple of kids, wonderful kids, Gabriel and Lila. And I still live in Silicon Valley. I've worked for companies big and small, and Scott and I run our own design company now called Game Thinking. And we take all the knowledge and process that we learned from making hit games in Silicon Valley and the games industry. And we help entrepreneurs make products that are compelling. And life is good. So here they are. This is Lila and Scott. Gabe is off at college. And we are the Kims.
Lila, how old are you?
11.
Yeah, are you having fun? What do you like to do?
Dance.
Dance? You're a dancer? Scott, can you...
Hip-hop.
Hip-hop. Scott, can you just say what you do briefly?
I make puzzles and I make math fun for kids.
Okay.
Well, I fly the airplanes. Well, the airplanes are really fun. One breaks down and you pay lots of money. You wouldn't, yeah. Well, I don't know. It's fun. I fly big airplanes too, you know. Toss forward, pull back. It's very good.
So the last time I was in this video, I guess, was 40 some odd years ago. And I was a silly young person, and hopefully I've held on to some of that silliness as an adult. This update would be a culmination of a lot of the things that I guess I desired back then. As you can see, I've got the airplanes that I always dreamed of flying, and I've lived the best life that I can possibly imagine. I can only attribute it to luck at some level, that I knew what I wanted to do when I was 12 years old. I followed my passion and my heart. The decisions I made in business were out of desire and passion to be in cool airplanes and have this be the office for my lifetime. So I've had an amazing life. I've had a career that I've loved every day of. I've been able to see the world and meet some of the most interesting people. But my biggest achievement in life is having two amazing children who are both now in college. One of them, Michael, is following, I guess, in my footsteps. He's studying flying right now at Southern Utah University and is really looking forward to a career in flying. And Grant is up at Montana State University studying chemistry. I'm very proud of both of them.
Well, I really don't know how to start this tape.
We'll talk about school a little bit, where you are.
About school a little bit. I just completed my second year at UC Davis, and I plan to be there for another 2. And right now, my interests and majors are sociology and mass communications. And when I'm looking back at this, I hope to have graduated with a major in both fields, leaning towards kind of a public relations emphasis. I've always been interested in that. Both of the jobs that I have right now at school are kind of public relation oriented, both work in the library and the counseling job. And I picked the fields that I'm interested in because I was interested in them, not because they would help me get a job. So in 4.5 years, I may be unemployed and looking back at this and saying, gee, I should have been an engineering major. but that's what interests me, and that's what I'm good at, and that's what I chose. It was really as simple as that. I just took classes that I wanted to take and ended up where I am. The jobs are very interesting to me, especially the counseling job, which I've only had for 3 months now, and I'm on a little break right now. And to see people come in who feel the pressure, something that I never had a chance to experience, is interesting just for that. The job at the library is a little less exciting and a little less mentally stimulating, but it's a job that I enjoy, and it's fairly relaxing.
What do you do?
A really, really nice apartment. I'm looking forward to it. Just after 6 months, the novelty will probably wear off, but it's just a new place, and being able to arrange and furnish and together, that's what makes it really fun, is because it's going to be our apartment, not have to worry about any other roommates or any outside hassles. Just be there.
How long have you and Patty been a couple now?
Oh, we have been a couple since January of '78, which means a year and a half. And I expect that it will be another 50 years and a half before we split up, if we split up. We went through some very rocky times at the start of our relationship, and I think that helped us more than anything else. I mean, we kind of, got all the shit out of the way, and now we can just concentrate on each other, and we have I have no in-law problems. Patty's mother and I are very close, and she has no in-law problems because she really feels like she's been accepted by the whole family. Makes any difference. I rarely think about age unless I go to a restaurant and order a glass of wine and they ask me for my ID. But I don't feel 19, but I don't know what I feel. I don't feel 30. I just kind of feel like me, and I don't consider my age very often. It's still always hard not to relate to your parents as parents. I try very hard not to. But, I called Mom last week because I was crying and I really needed someone to talk to, and I was calling her because she was my mother, But I still feel like I have you two as friends, above and beyond anything else. And I try a good part of the time to relate to you that way, and I feel that you try to relate to me that way instead of as your son. And that's a really good feeling for me, to know that you can be friends with your parents, because I know a lot of people can't. Well, 4 years from now, I will have been out of school for 2 years. Unless a terrible disaster happens, I will be married. I hope not to have kids yet. That's a little soon for me. As much as I don't like to admit it, I have a feeling I'm going to be back in Los Angeles, because I've always wanted to go into the music business, and this is where the music business is. Although it's expanding, and if it continues to expand at the rate it is now, I would love to be able to end up in San Francisco, because when I moved up to Northern California, I just fell in love with it. That's the place for me, I think. Los Angeles is just a little too big and a little too hassled. All I can say is that 4 years from now, when maybe we can all get together and watch this tape, and watch us all in sequence and laugh, and look at it as a really, really good time in our lives, because I think that it is. I think that we're all very close now, and I think that we're all relating to each other as people now, and I feel more of a family feeling than I've felt since the divorce. And I hope that 4 years from now I'll still have this good feeling.
Hi again after 40 years. It's Jeffrey, Wesley's oldest son, and it's been a long time since we've had a chance to catch up on my life. I am sure lots have changed since the last video that we did, and I'm sure I was full of all kinds of plans that never materialized, but things have worked out wonderfully for my life. So just to kind of catch you up, I have spent the past 42 years operating Wesley's old business, Druthers Agency, and I'm getting ready to retire from that. Very excited, looking forward to that. I've been married, just celebrated my 30th anniversary with a wonderful woman, Marcy Begleiter, an accomplished artist and filmmaker, and we've had a wonderful life together, produced a terrific son, Zach, who just turned 29 and is a professional musician, is currently in the middle of his third tour of 2022 with his band. Very, very proud of what he's accomplished as well. We had all lived in Los Angeles until Zach graduated from college, and Marcy and I, 5.5 years ago, moved from Los Angeles to Los Osos, California, which is a very small town on the Central California coast just outside of San Luis Obispo. And we've completely transformed our lives up here. We have a very nice, slow pace to our lives. We are surrounded by nature. We are surrounded by friends, have a wonderful time. And as I am looking to transition out of full-time work, have been getting involved with a lot of exciting hobbies. I'm finally learning to play guitar at 63 years old and taking my first lessons ever, which has been quite fun and using a different part of my brain. We recently, 4 months ago, got a dog, the first dog I have ever owned in my life, and that has been both a joy and a challenge, having a large puppy, but she brings a great deal of joy to us as well. And looking forward to what the next chapter of my life is going to be. We're not quite sure yet. Marcy is not done working. She, in fact, has an art opening this weekend of her first solo show at 66 years old. So that's a quite exciting accomplishment for her. And I'll be spending a lot of time supporting whatever her next venture is. And just enjoying life, enjoying family, enjoying friends, and enjoying this wonderful place that we live. And maybe we'll check in again in another 40 years.
Hi there, my name's Greg. I'm Wes's youngest son. I was not around on the original iteration of this over 40 years ago. I was born in 1983. I'll turn 40 years old this summer, August 16th, the year 2023. I have a wife and 2 children, live in Los Angeles. We own a house together and we have a nice life. My wife is a former teacher who stopped teaching once we had our daughter, our first child. And I run a business that my dad and I started together in 2017. We spent quite a number of years after I moved back to Los Angeles in 2009 working together on a couple different endeavors. Which led to the current business I have now, which is creating microgrids and solar-powered generators. And Wes is still involved in an advisory capacity for us and is very helpful to us. My youngest son is named Reed Miles. He was born in 2021. He'll turn 2 years old this year. Our daughter was born in 2019. She will turn 4 years old this year. And her name is Thea Wolf. The Wolf being named after Judith Wolf. And I would definitely classify her as a woman of adventure. She's a strong-willed little lady. And this year, for the first time, was on skis, which was a great moment for us and our family, and really fun to see her do that. Our son, who's not yet 2, Reed, is aching to be on skis, but not old enough to do that yet.
I'm Jessica, Wesley's youngest daughter. I grew up in Pacific Palisades with my brother Greg, and I worked in the event business, doing a lot of entertainment work and social parties and things, and now I'm a full-time mom.
Now you've heard our ganze spiel. We do assure you it's all real. From all of us, our kids and grandkids too. George and Hattie now look down on all we've done of great renown. There's TV help and a couple of pianos too. We hope you appreciate, don't mind we somewhat prate, spreading the word around as best we can, and so we hope that you've enjoyed the show. We've tried to keep you in the know, so happy now to